Hi, I'm Dr. Shannon Ferguson, and this is Move It or Lose It, and today we're going to be talking about shoulder mobility. Shoulder mobility is really important when you're talking about any sort of shoulder rehab. In fact, mobility is really important when you're talking about maintaining your physical health or improving it. Mobility exercises aren't really like a stretch, and they're not really like a strength exercise. So we don't hold them for any length of time, and you don't necessarily have to do them until fatiguing like a strength exercise. It's just making sure that you spend a decent amount of time during the day putting your joints into different movements than you do when you're working or sitting. In this routine, I'm going to be doing each mobility exercise 10 times in each direction when direction is relevant. But when you do it at home, just do it for 5 to 10 minutes. Do it for an hour when you're watching TV. Just make sure that you are challenging the range of motion of your joint, in this case the shoulder, and make sure that you are spending time each day practicing the motions that that joint is supposed to go through. Okay, so to begin, we are going to be doing swimming back bows. So you get down in a back bow position. I'm only lifting my torso off of the ground, but you can lift your legs off of the ground as well if you want an extra challenge. And then you swim your arms back behind you, getting your arms as far off of the ground as you possibly can. If you want to put obstacles on the floor around you so that your arms have to clear something, that's also a really good way to make sure that you're challenging yourself. And again, I'm doing 10, although I admittedly lose count in many of the reps. I think this one I was on count, but that might be the only one. So with this motion, we're actually working the scapular range of motion. So the scapula is the shoulder blade, and making sure that it can go through all the ranges of motion that it's supposed to. And now we're moving on to box isolation. So basically you're stopping in 4 corners. So up and back, down and back, down and forward, and up and forward. So I'm going in a counterclockwise direction to start. So basically you want to stop in 4 positions as if it was a box, and then we'll stop and go the other direction. And ideally you want to do both sides. My right shoulder is my shoulder that I've had a previous injury on, so this was the most important for me to work. But it felt so good after this exercise, I really regretted not doing it on the other side. And here I'm reversing. So still stopping on those 4 box isolations. Sometimes it gets a little sloppy, but that's okay. Mobility is really important for not only the tendons and ligaments and the actual joint structure itself, but also the neurological connection that is so important with not only strength and flexibility, but pain as well. So this is a really great complement to stretching and exercise, and I really encourage you to do mobility as well. Yeah, I definitely lost count. Okay, so now we're doing a serratus exercise, and this is not so much a range of motion or a mobility exercise, but it is working the range of motion of the shoulder while contracting the serratus, which in most people is really weak. And I think this is really, really important. This is a muscle that you need to feel contracted when you're doing any shoulder exercise, and I think a lot of shoulder injuries have a serratus issue as a part of it. So basically what we're doing is we're standing flush against the wall with scapula, elbows, and wrists all flush against the wall and going arms high above and then down to about just below shoulder joint, and going up and down without anything coming off of the wall. And the muscle that keeps your shoulder blades sucked into your ribs is serratus, and that's what we're working here. And it's really hard, and you can see me grimacing. I think my walls are dirty. Gross. Okay, so now we're just going to be doing arm circles. So we're starting with small arm circles and just going kind of 1 to 2 inches around the shoulder joint. I messed up and counted every other small circle. So we're actually doing 20 forward and 20 backward. So I've switched to going backward, and this is really hard. You can add weight if you want, but it's a deceptively hard exercise. And now we're doing big circles, so going forward 10 times and an actual real 10 times, and then back 10 times to work all of the range of motion of that joint. And switching to back. And this really challenges the anterior structures in the AC joint in the front, so it might be a little uncomfortable. Just make sure that it's not painful. Thank you for watching my video on shoulder mobility. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please subscribe to get more updates on stretching and pain-free living.